All right, family. We live once again with the general. You already know we got that file here, the commentary, the analysis, international, national, regional, local for the family Black Power. We is in the house. We're gonna be talking about will Ethiopia go to war with Eritrea over the Red Sea access? Hoping that don't happen. We got enough going on as it is. We're gonna talk about it, but before we get started, I want you to get over there to Patreon and get that work. We got the man. Let me put it up there for you, just so you can see it. That's right. The Islamic Comedic Order. I want you in the house. I want you to get the Patreon. Click the link at the top of the chat and be on deck. You can't get it no better than from. You just can't do it. I'm just being 1,000 with you. Get over there, get that work, and let's get started, family. Yeah, we have to understand that Africa is just resource rich, period. It is strategically in order to rule on this planet, you're gonna have to have Africa. There's so many resources, I mean, that come from Africa that's just you can't get nowhere else. And so that's what made Africa so valuable to anybody. There's even the rich. When you look at, why the Egyptian and the Nubian kings was so rich. When you go down in their tombs, and what you find, you can't find no other kings on the planet, queens on the planet, where you can go down in their tomb and find the type of riches, that you find. And so even from ancient times, they knew that, Africa was invaluable, you see. And but what has happened, through the course of all these invasions, they have taken Africa and they've carved Africa. They've taken those strategic what they choke points, and I won't say a choke point, but a very, very a strategic point of resource that most rulers and most kings and most powerful people would love to have that jewel in a treasure chest. You see, whether it's a diamond mine, whether it's gold, whether it's oil, whether it's platinum, whether it's uranium, whether it's plutonium, whether it's cobalt, whatever it is, they want to get their hands on it. You see, and so Africa has been carved up. Now the thing is about Eritrea. You see, Eritrea is that it used to be a part of Ethiopia. You see, and through the course of the Italians, the British coming in there, they always, and they do that all the time, where they cut the nation, where they take the sea coast. They tend to take the sea coast and keep that so they could continue to sail in and move whatever resources that they stealing up you know, out of the continent. They did that over in Asia too. You see, where they would keep the sea parts of the sea coast, and so Djibouti and all of that, that used to be part of Ethiopia. And so the Italians, the British carved that from Ethiopia. And that's where you have it divided it, as it is today. And it also there's you got the inner, you got the tribal wars that's going on, just like everywhere else in Africa. They just, arguing over what belonged to who. And so that's another calamity that's going on in Africa. Just can't share the shit, and benefit from, everybody benefit one way or another. We caught up, where it's a lot of division over, particular areas. Sudan, we see what's going on in South Sudan and in Northern Sudan. You can keep going down. It don't make no damn difference. You can go all over, and it's some calamities that's going on. but we see that there is a couple of wars that's brewing with Ethiopia, and Ethiopia very well might be going to war with Egypt over the dam. They've just constructed, well, they ain't just constructed it, but the Great Dam of Ethiopia, where they built, the largest dam on the continent. I think it cost them about 5 million, but we'll talk about that. And understandably that, Egypt receives, almost 95% of its water from the Nile. And so the fact is that, Ethiopia being the source for most of the water, even though you got them two Niles, you got the Blue Nile and you got the White Nile. The Blue Nile, the one that come out of Ethiopia, is the more powerful of the two branches. And so most of the water come out of the Blue Nile. And so, Egypt is feeling the pressure that, that Ethiopia could, cut off its water. And so a lot of threats have been sent. And so there's regional actors, trying to, mediate, between Egypt and Ethiopia. And hopefully they do it with Eritrea, because this is unnecessary. It's a lot of genocide that's going on in Africa, all over Africa. It's genocides all over Africa. They ain't even talking about the one in the Congo, genocide. Just came out of one not long ago, Rwanda. Hellified genocide. All of them is genocide. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so we looking at again what could be another war. Ethiopia is saying it needs access to the Red Sea. That's what they saying. And they saying that Eritrea was once a part of Ethiopia, and it was, but that don't mean you had to commit genocide, to reclaim the land if that's what they want to do. You see, now a lot of people, a lot of uh look at Taiwan. They also, but they have not officially, said that they were an independent nation, because China say soon as they say they're an independent nation, they on top of their head. But to my understanding, a lot of people say that mainland China never even ruled over Taiwan. I got to check into that. But it's these, you got these certain, bigger nations that want to kind of bully, and move in. And now I could understand that historically, if Eritrea and Djibouti was a part of Ethiopia, I understand that's what made Ethiopia such a powerful nation in the ancient world. Awesome. It had access to the Red Sea. But see, with Eritrea and Djibouti being cut off from Ethiopia, it made Ethiopia an inland country. It's an inland country. It don't have access to the Red Sea. And so, it's saying that it must have access. So, I don't know. Maybe, it could be something worked out where, just like the United States do, where they rent, sign a treaty, get some water, get something on the, from Eritrea or Djibouti. See if you can work some where you can get some ports. But I don't know what type of, I don't know if this guy that's in power in Ethiopia, he's authoritarian. The war that went on not long ago in Ethiopia, I was very upset with his ass about that, because you know it was a lot of genocide going on, you know what I'm saying, and I was totally upset about that. I don't even, for that, I didn't even like him, and I don't like him now. You see what I'm saying? For the fact that I don't, you don't have no diplomatic skills where you can communicate with the people in a way that you don't have to commit these type of atrocities. We sick of these atrocities. in Africa. So it got to be, some negotiations and, sitting down at the table and talking this out. So, hopefully, because there's threats that are being issued, and I believe ultimately that could be worked out. If Ethiopia wants some water, they man sign some treaties. You see what I'm saying? I'm quite sure they'll rent to you. You see, I thought they was kind of, and for a minute, I thought they was doing good. I thought Eritrea and Ethiopia had opened it and probably had opened up talks about 2 years back. They was looking like they was doing good, like they was trying to, work things out. And so I don't know, maybe, things have taken a turn for the worse, but we hope and we because we can't keep having these type of dilemmas on the continent. It's not going, this is not helping Africa grow. These damn, nations is acting like these damn Europeans. Where they just gonna bully and take and shit and all of that. We got to do better than that. So because we are, all the same people when it really boiled down to it. You know what I'm saying? You jumping on your own, all this little tribal shit, you jumping on your own. And that's what make it even more fucked up. You know what I'm saying? This shit, you closer, you fucking over your own people. But anyway, family, let's stay close to this subject here. Let's stay close to this situation that's brewing, and and we hope that that as many developed nations that is in Africa today, that this African Union and all of it, they say they got an African Union. Well, goddamn it, step up and mediate before we have another atrocity in Africa. Get over there to Patreon, family. We got it there for you. The Islamic Comedic Order. This is going to be off the chain. The visuals is off the chain. Click the link at the top of the chat, and I'll be black here in a minute. Black Power.